Bashara, this is your favorite uncle, back again. So this is going to be our exam series. But namhlanje, I'm not alone. I'm with the infamous Mbuso Booty.
Hi guys. For those who know me, they call me best the mathematician. I'm pleased to share this platform with you. Our favorite uncle. Count me in as Umshan. Count me in.
So Mbuso is one of the tutors at our center, and I thought today we'd kind of talk about some of the challenges that you guys have in Maths Paper 1. So I don't know how we're going to do this. Sorry, we're going to wing it, but at the end of the day, I think all of the things that we're going to discuss are going to help you prepare for Paper 1. So maybe where do we start? In your opinion, Imapoma topics, which are the topics that you think are usually challenging?
Challenging with the ones that they underestimate, because we are
already in the conversation.
Sure.
Let's
I think they underestimate number patterns. So number patterns is quite a huge topic, which is about 30 to 40 marks per paper.
Yeah.
So they underestimate that patterns.
So usually that's question two
and three. Yes,
yeah.
That is usually question 2 and 3.
Paper
So
1.
they underestimate that.
Yeah.
And then find themselves cracking their heads now when it's time to write. So I think number patterns could be that, or to go to a hard one. I think probability. We can start with it. Probability is a universal problem. And I'm sure about Abashana, they are nodding. Spot on. So
how do I tackle probability?
So probability is one of the difficult sections, and we also have functions. So functions are a lot as well, and Abashana don't do particularly well there in functions. And so, probability and functions, I can classify them in the hard.
So that would
category.
Be probability. That would be functions.
Yes.
But I mean, if I were to give advice about functions, I'd say they are the biggest topic in Paper 1. So you definitely want to make sure that you do well in functions, right? And that's 50 marks plus, right? That's almost a third of your paper. So you want to make sure that you do well. But what about Elon, financial maths?
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to break that down. So we said probability, we're going to look at functions, going to look at financial maths. You guys at times tend to not do well in that topic because it's word sounds.
Yeah.
You have to be able to translate from words to formulae and ultimately get to the answer.
Sure.
Yeah, but what would be maybe the fourth one, and then we get into the discussion.
I'd say number patterns.
Number patterns.
Yeah. So they are number patterns are also a lot. They consist of a lot of marks, and they take them for granted. And I think that is why we are here saying number patterns are a difficult topic, but in essence it's just that they are taking it for granted.
Okay, we've got our ghost people here, and we're going to just add them into the conversation. You'll get to hear their voices,
sure,
even though you can't see them. But yeah, are we spot on?
Yes,
we're spot on.
But that's
so
not
if
calculus.
Yeah, so if you guys were to mention, calculus.
Sure.
Calculus is
Calculus
calculus. Why Kshash?
Optimization.
Your optimization.
Okay.
Optimization. Okay. Yes. So optimization is an extension of calculus, right? It's where we apply calculus. Yes. Okay. Ghost lady number 2. I don't know. Is the name ghost lady privatized?
Hey.
Is it someone's IP? It might be.
We apologize.
If it is, ask us.
We apologize.
All right. Maybe let's get into now each of those topics that we spoke about. And
Sure.
definitely, calculus is one of them. You're quite
Sure.
right. So let's get into each of those topics, right? Let's start with functions. So how do I ensure that I improve on functions? What would be the first thing that I do?
So the first thing that you would have, by the way, that is a nice question. I love it when you put it like that. So with functions, you have to start with the very basics of functions, because everything complicated about functions comes from the basic stuff.
basics, okay.
So know the basics. Why do we say this is a function? How or what is the formula for this type of a function? So the general formula for hyperbola in case, or a parabola, a straight line. How does that look like in mathematical equations? So if you can start there, I think you have dealt with a lot.
Half the work is done.
Half the work.
I know how to work out x-intercepts.
Sure.
I know how to work out y-intercepts.
Sure.
Right? Maybe if it is those that have asymptotes,
Sure.
I know where the asymptotes lie.
Sure.
I would know what happens when there is an intersection, particularly when I'm given two or more graphs, right?
Sure.
What happens when there's an intersection? Are you still part of the conversation? Yeah. So I'd say you're quite right. I think sometimes people take for granted the things that are standard,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
So, for instance, the basics of a parabola. What do I know? I know there'd be x-intercepts. I know there'd be y-intercepts.
Yes.
I know that there would be a turning point,
Sure.
right? How do I work that out before I worry myself about those higher order
Yes,
questions,
yes.
right? Because the reality is that the structure of the exam is such that you can always, we can break it down for maths, for instance. There's always a certain percentage of level 1 questions, which are sort of routine questions.
Sure.
They don't need a lot of thinking, right? And then you've got your level 2 questions, which are a little bit, more difficult, but that would be, that's where you take your formula substitution and you get the answer.
Get the answer.
Straightforward, right? And then you get your higher order level 3 questions, which are more application based.
Sure.
So this is when now you are taking the knowledge that you have and now you are finding ways of how it relates to the question.
Sure.
Right, and then you get your really top of the range last number. Ne?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you're right. Don't take for granted the basics. Don't take the basics for granted. Okay. That's the one. So I hope that you guys are listening. All right? And then what else? What are those guys? I just want to hear from you. What would you consider in functions? Into that gives you guys nightmares, headaches.
In my opinion, it would be the interpretation of the graphs. Like, where is it increasing? Where is it decreasing?
Ah,
How
I
do
see.
I write it in the way it should be?
Okay. Right, the interpretation of the graph. Where is it increasing? Once they start using f prime,
Yes.
multiplied by f of x greater than 0, those kind of questions. Now, if for you at home, you might still be struggling in that regard, here's what I'd like for you to do. Of course, it would be helpful for you to watch videos on that. We've included it in all of the videos that we've done. But maybe closer to the time where you are writing exams, if you really still are struggling in that section, I'd say for me, at what point, maybe let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
At what point do I say, you know what? That's
Now
it. Yeah. This one, I've just realized that it's a problem area for me. right? I'm not going to focus on it, but I'm going to now give my attention in other things. At what point?
So
Is it 1 week before the exam, 2 weeks before exam, day before the exam?
hey, day before is risky.
It's
risky.
Yeah.
So
and please don't do it the day before the exam.
No, day before is very risky. So I would use 4 days as a threshold, because at least 4 days gives you enough time to then try and consolidate on the things that you would not necessarily be interested in. So I think 4 days. So if 4 days or 5 days before you write the exam, you feel like I've tried and it's not going in, I know, prioritize. Go to something else, because if you then end up spending time on something that is genuinely difficult for you to grasp, then it means you are sabotaging yourself. When you get to the exam, there is absolutely no guarantee that even the things that you said, I know this one I can try, there's no guarantee that you are perfect in them.
Yeah,
because you did not improve.
I think the most important thing is that it's a confidence killer.
Sure,
right?
Sure, yes.
So you don't want to walk into the exam room with very low confidence, right? Because the moment they say start writing, and your confidence is already low, and then you see that diagram. Has it ever happened to you? You see a diagram, during that time when they are saying read the question paper, and then you see a diagram and your heart starts beating fast. Yeah, so I really agree with you. You really don't want to leave everything right up until the end, right? Yeah, so very importantly, guys, for me, very important for you to do, just make sure that you cover those basics. You know the standard equations of each of your functions. You know how to translate a function, right?
Yes.
Yes,
that is important. That is important because translating the function entails like your reflections, your vertical and horizontal shifts. Those things tend to be a problem when they are actually supposed to be giveaway marks. So prioritize knowing the translations of the graphs.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What about even just near, and I don't want us to belabor the point gamma functions.
Sure.
Maybe to move on to the next thing. But I think the one thing also that for me I found Uti our Abashana struggled with would be, when you're looking at inverse functions or inverses, right?
Sure.
Because not all the time is an inverse a function. So I don't want to say inverse function. So in that case, you need to know all of those things. And by the way, guys, we did say that this is worth 50 marks plus. That's a third of paper 1. Sure. So please just ensure that you do pay particular focus on functions. Let me tell you, Mena, if someone were to come to me the day before the exam, and say, Angazi next, right?
Yes.
I just don't know anything.
Yes.
What can I do? I'd say to them, do functions.
Do functions.
That's it. I'd say, forget everything else, do functions. Because if you just understand that, you've already passed to paper 1.
Yes.
Of course, Nemadoda score 80%.
Yeah.
I've just given my remarks on functions, right? And that if maybe say someone were to come to me the day before the exam and say, look, I need you to pull a miracle, right? Then my advice would be do functions.
Sure.
Maybe yours, in terms of functions, what are some of the things that what are the things that they should look out for? We've been marking scripts, right? Looking at prelims, and they drop silly marks here and there. What are those things that they need to look out for?
Okay, so I usually call it notation. So notation is one of the most important things. So when you are asked the x value of the x-intercept, we expect your answer to be x equals to some value. But if we are saying give us the x-intercept, we expect your answer to be in coordinate form, because an intercept is a coordinate point.
Absolutely.
So we expect. So that is the notation I speak about. If there is a question that we've done recently that speaks of a factor can be a single number if we are dealing with constants, but most of the time in functions we are dealing with variables. So a factor needs to be something that multiplies another thing to give us some product zero per se, if we are using the zero product rule. But factors, just give us a factor. Don't give us what makes the point in a factor, or what makes a factor a factor. We want a factor. If the factor is x plus 3, give us x
in
plus
fact,
3.
I wanted you to make an
Yes.
example
So,
with that.
so
With what
factors of x squared minus 9. Let's say we have f of x is equal to x squared minus 9. Factors of that are, first we realize that x squared minus 9 is a difference of 2 squares. So if we break it down, then we have two brackets. One bracket is x minus 3, the other one is x plus 3.
So those are factors.
So x minus 3 as a bracket is a factor. And
Okay.
x plus 3 also is a factor. So we don't want x equal 3 as a factor, because that is not true in terms of notation.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, restrictions, especially when there are roots and you are dealing also with an exponential equation. People forget restrictions. Don't forget restrictions. If you have a variable underneath your square root, make sure you specify to us that this function is valid for all values that, for instance, x is greater than 5. So that will happen if inside your square root you have x minus 5.
X minus 5.
X minus 5. And so we need that to be greater than 0.
Sure.
So for that to be greater than 0, we are ensuring that x then starts at 5 and goes up.
Sure.
So those things are very important, because if you omit those things, then you will not get full marks, because those things are consistent with the information that you are being asked.
Sure. Very important one. I think one of the things that I noticed as we were marking, I realized that some of the learners just dropped marks with silly mistakes.
Sure.
You know, transposing, forgetting to change the sign. You know, those are things that we really, you know, because we really think, well, you know what, I've got this, I know it.
Yeah.
But you find that a lot of people actually lose marks on those mundane issues.
Sure.
So for me, I think that's a very important one. Maybe before we conclude on the issue of functions, do you guys have any questions, or are there any concerns that you have in relation to functions?
So the nature of roots.
Nature of roots. Yes, that's a very
Thank
important
you.
one.
Thank you.
So the thing is, with the nature of roots, we tend to use delta, you know. And when we use delta, it's more like, since we have this thing, delta is greater than, and we don't we don't put it in our heads, like, what can we do for us to remember, other than us cramming, because cramming is not guaranteed for we to remember.
Sure. That's a very important one. Nature of roots. To really understand where it comes from, right? First of all, people don't realize that nature of roots actually comes from the parabola, right? And what do we mean by that? So you look at the Gonja, what do we call this? Quadratic formula, right? Quadratic formula. You've got that a minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Exactly what he was talking about. That once you know what's happening within the square root, that square root cannot have a value that is negative underneath that, right?
Sure.
If b squared minus 4ac becomes less than 0, then it makes the entire thing invalid, right? In mathematical terms, in that case, we usually say that it is undefined,
Sure.
right? It's undefined. So now, which means the nature of that root, it actually is an unreal root.
Yes.
Why? Because it doesn't exist. You cannot have the square root of a negative number. Secondly, if b squared is minus 4ac is greater than 0, then it means I can get an answer.
Sure.
Right? So you've got real roots. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, that means you've got only one root. So we say that roots are equal.
Yes.
You know, if you are looking at it as 2, you've got 2 roots which are exactly the same. Right? So all of those things are important in nature of roots. And in essence, you would need to apply that, you know, in questions that require you to kind of assess what the nature of the root is. I don't know if you've got anything to add there.
I think
I like that.
I like that question. I think because the nature of roots also translate to a parabola, you also need to understand how the shape of a parabola affects the nature of roots. If the parabola is going through the origin, what does that tell us about the nature of roots? If our turning point is at the x-axis, what does that tell us about the nature of roots? So things like that. And by the way, that is standard information for all textbooks, I think.
Sure.
They include those graphs. So go and check those graphs, and also check when there are a frown, that will mean A is negative, and check when there is a smiley face, that will mean A is positive. And I think that should be fine.
Love it for the question. Awesome. Okay, so we are concluding now on functions.
Yes.
We are wrapping up. So we did say 50 marks, you are guaranteed if you know how to do functions. Your linear, straight line.
Yes.
Parabola, you need to know your
Hyperbola.
so we call it quadratic usually.
Okay. Yeah,
You know,
that's the parabola.
okay, that's a parabola. Okay, and then
Hyperbola. And the exponential.
Exponential,
Yes.
very
important as well.
Okay, and the exponential, just to add to that, usually I think it's a favorite when it comes to inverses, right?
Sure.
Yeah, evaluating the inverse. I haven't seen a question on the inverse of a parabola lately. Mara, who knows? You can surprise us. But I think we've touched on functions. I think we'll leave it here in terms of functions. So let's move on to the next one.